Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
It's Stand Up Friday, you bastards.
They could double our wages and not raise car prices and still make billions of dollars in profit. They want to scare the American people into thinking that auto workers are the problem. We're not the problem. That chart is the problem. Corporate greed is the problem. And come tomorrow night, if they force us, we're about to make it the big three's problem.
You know, the corporate media hasn't covered this very well, but the reality is, over the last 20 years, real wages for automobile workers has gone down by 30% when you account for inflation. So what the workers are saying is at a time when the CEOs of Ford, he makes $21 million. The guy who's head of Stellantis, he makes $25 million a year. Woman who's head of General Motors, $29 million. Their salaries have gone up by 40% over the last 4 years. They have billions of dollars for dividends and stock buybacks. And what the workers are saying is, hey, we made you those profits. We gave you those salaries. Pay attention to our needs. We don't want to see a situation where workers at the low end make it all of $17 an hour. And I'll tell you something, Chris. You mentioned that all over this country we're seeing strikes, and you're right. And I think what's happening is working people all across this country are sick and tired of the corporate greed they are seeing every day. They see it when they go to the grocery store. Food prices incredibly high, gas prices incredibly high, companies making money hands over fist. And I really applaud the courage of Sean Fain and the workers at the UAW for standing up and saying, you know what, enough is enough. We need an economy that works for everybody, not just the people on top.
How hard is that to comprehend? Why is that a difficult concept? And why is it that even garden variety, blue collar, Republican workers, their first instinct is, got to protect the corporation? What? You're going to I honestly don't. Middle managers, is that who you are? You're the guys that sit in the office with the door closed, praying that nobody figures out that you don't know what you're doing. Is that you? Is that it? Because if your first instinct is to defend the corporation that closed Lordstown, you remember Donald Trump? I mean, the nerve of this man. So a lot is going on. Kristen Welker, I just want to get this out of the way, is, going to make your every wish come true for those of you who wished that Chuck Todd would go away, for everybody who wished him away, for everybody that said, I hate Chuck Todd on Meet the Press. I just, I can't watch it anymore. I don't like it. I need somebody else. He's got to go. He actually said goodbye to his audience last Sunday. Nobody cared. I mean, I watched it, but it's just me. I'm a dweeb. Geek. So I watched him say goodbye, and Kristen Welker is going to take over the moderation of Meet the Press, right? And Kristen Welker is going to kick off her show, the very first one, the very first time that a woman, well, I shouldn't say that, because when Meet the Press first started, I think a woman hosted it. I can't recall her name. I used to know it. But she was a woman, the first moderator of Meet the Press. Anyway, so I don't want to say first woman. But Kristen Welker is going to be the moderator of Meet the Press, and her first show is going to be an interview with Donald Trump. Oh, my God. Be careful what you wish for, everybody. Be careful what you wish for. And what did she, it's pre-taped. It's already in the can, as they say. Ow. But yeah, she actually interviewed him about the UAW strike. She actually asked him, whose side are you on? His answer will not surprise most of us.
Let's talk about the economy. And I want to start by talking about this big standoff between the auto workers and the big three auto manufacturers. Yeah. My question for you, Mr. President, whose side are you on in this?
I'm on the side of making our country great.
Oh, my God.
The auto workers are not going to have any jobs when you come right down to it. Because if you take a look at what they're doing with electric cars, Electric cars are going to be made in China. The auto workers are not going to have any. I'll tell you what. The auto workers are being sold down the river by their leadership, and their leadership should endorse Trump. The reason is you got to have choice. Like in school, I want school choice. I also want choice for cars. If somebody wants gasoline, if somebody wants all electric, they can do whatever they want. But they're destroying the consumer, and they're destroying the auto workers. The auto workers will not have any jobs, Kristen, because all of these cars are going to be made in China. The electric cars automatically are going to be made in China.
So let's talk about UAW's leadership. The president, Sean Fain, has withheld his endorsement of President Biden. But this is what he had to say about you. Quote, another Donald Trump presidency would be a disaster. How would you win that endorsement?
Well, if that's the case, I probably won't win his. I don't know the gentleman, but I know his name very well. And I think he's not doing a good job in representing his union, because he's not going to have a union in 3 years from now. Those jobs are all going to be gone because all of those electric cars are going to be made in China.
I don't know what the hell he's talking about. He's just pulling stuff out of, thin air and putting it on. Whose side? They just asked him a simple question. He should say clearly, I am on the side of the working guy. I am on the side of the people that make America great again. I'm on the side of people who actually get up in the morning, go to work, and, should be compensated fairly. But he can't. He can't say that. You know why? Know why? Because this guy is the reason why Lordstown closed in the first place. Donald Trump lost an entire GM plant in Lordstown, Ohio. People had to move out of Ohio and move to Michigan, move to Indiana, move to other places. And he told them, buy a house. Remember, he stood on the stage and he told them, I got this. And they voted for him. All these blue-collar, hardworking dudes and ladies, they voted for him, okay? And then they were stunned, they were shocked, they were sickened that he had lied. And he told them that he had, what did he say? He found the magic wand. That's what he called it. He said he had found the magic wand to manufacturing, and that you were going to see all this new manufacturing, and people literally were let go in droves. And this is pre-pandemic, pre-COVID. And the people in Lordstown were like, oh my God. And Tim Ryan and, Sherrod Brown from Ohio, they had all called Donald Trump and asked him for his help, and he ignored them because he didn't like their party affiliation. This is you could all go to hell if he doesn't like that Sherrod Brown is a Democratic senator from Ohio. I mean, it was so sick and so sad. And the workers, my God.
Aaron Applegate has worked at the GM plant for 11 years.
11.
Today was his last shift.
Remember this?
Worried. A little worried.
A lot worried.
In GM speak, Lordstown has been unallocated, meaning the Chevy Cruze that rolls off the line this week is the last car they're making here. The last of 16 million vehicles since it opened in 1966. And it's the largest of the 4 plants in the U.S. where GM plans to stop production this year. More than 3,300 hourly workers will be laid off indefinitely. That's 7% of GM's approximately 50,000 hourly employees nationwide. The cuts come as the automaker is reporting a near record $12 billion profit last year.
I'm on the side of the auto worker because you're being duped. You're being led down. All cars are going to be made in China. What the hell is wrong with that dude? I mean, honestly, he lies so effortlessly, so seamlessly, so, just easily, strongly. I don't know why he would, but he does. I mean, if this is crazy. He actually had rallies in Ohio where he told workers, go buy a house. Lordstown's going to be here. I found the magic wand for manufacturing. And, after Lordstown closed, I remember an interview with a woman who worked there forever. And she said she was so insulted when he said he had found the magic wand for manufacturing because she was the magic wand for manufacturing. The workers in Lordstown, Ohio were the magic wand for years.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Last night, after negotiations broke down, the UAW announced a targeted strike at a few big three auto plants. Let's be clear. No one wants a strike. Say it again. No one wants a strike. But I respect workers' right to use their options under the collective bargaining system. And I understand the workers' frustration. Over generations, auto workers sacrificed so much to keep the industry alive and strong, especially through the economic crisis and the pandemic. Workers deserve a fair share of the benefits they helped create for an enterprise. I do appreciate that the parties have been working round the clock. And when I first called them at the very first day of the negotiations, I said, please stay at the table as long as you can to try to work this out. And they've been around the clock, and the companies have made some significant offers. But I believe they should go further to ensure record corporate profits mean record contracts for the UAW. Let me say that again. Record corporate profits, which they have, should be shared by record contracts for the UAW.
There's a president that actually gives a damn about the working people, whereas Donald Trump is saying, which side are you on? He can't tell you. He can't tell you. It just depends who's paying him. It depends who's endorsing him. It depends who's, from what party. Are the workers Republicans? Did they vote for me? Or the workers Democrats, did they vote for him? It's very sick and it's very sad. And there is no comparison, with Donald Trump's lack of support for working people while he lies through his teeth about how, he's all about the middle class and he's all about the working guy and he's all about the blue collar guy. It is an amazing thing. And when Lordstown closed, I guess everybody forgot that Donald Trump hates working people. It's really strange because Mitt Romney yesterday retired, right? What does that have to do with the price of rice? Well, I'll show you. Mitt Romney actually said that he wasn't running for re-election yesterday because his party has collapsed. There is no Republican Party anymore. They used to be the party of business. They used to be the party of the CEOs. They used to be the party of the people who made $29 million a year. Do you know how much $29 million a year is in a paycheck, in one paycheck? Like, let's say you got paid bi-weekly. I've never seen a paycheck for multiple millions, okay? But I can tell you that if you make $1 million a year, your paycheck, I think it was bi-weekly, was $42,000. $42,000 in one paycheck. So multiply 42,000 by 29 million, right? Because that's 42,000 biweekly is 1 million. So figure $20,000, 52 weeks a year. Somebody do the math for that, and then times it by 29, and you'll see what a paycheck for $29 million looks like. I mean, it's obscene. It's just disgusting. And of course, Donald Trump is the businessman. He is not the working man. He hates the working man. And now we know this for sure because Mitt Romney, when he actually made his announcement yesterday saying he wasn't going to run for re-election, okay, it wasn't because he's 76 years old, which is what he told you, and it's time to hand the torch over to the younger generation. Well, I applaud that spirit, and that does need to happen, but not because every single person who's over, 70 can't serve. I mean, Biden is so effective, and yes, he's 80 years old, but he's super good at doing what a president can and should be doing, right? Anyway, Mitt Romney apparently gave an interview to a reporter for a book that is coming out. And this reporter works for The Atlantic and was following Mitt Romney for 2 years. Mitt Romney's been cooperating with this tell-all about being a senator for 2 years. And in this book, Mitt Romney actually, he dunks on every one of his colleagues, every last one of them, especially Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, Ron Johnson, all of his Republican colleagues. I mean, saying that they know that Donald Trump's a fool. They know he's an ass. They know he's a liar. They know he's full of garbage. They know he's like mockable, laugh. And every time they would, meet with Donald Trump, or every time they would be in a public setting having to talk about Donald Trump, then they would go behind closed doors. And Mitt Romney said they would all laugh their asses off. They would all mock you, but laugh their asses off. Well, actually, by laughing their asses off. He said, Josh Hawley, who he says is probably one of the smartest senators he's ever seen in his life. J.D. Vance of Ohio, he said about J.D. Vance, he said, this is a quote from this book. He said, I don't know that I can disrespect someone more than J.D. Vance. You know, and I think it's because he's such a betrayal of what made J.D. Vance a household name, right? J.D. Vance's Hillbilly Elegy, which got made into a movie, was all about, the working class in Ohio and how the hard scrabble life really is and living up the run and being poor and everything else. And, he became a venture capitalist and now has nothing but disdain, calling those same people that he grew up with in Ohio lazy and drug addicted and undeserving of any, kind of American dream, right? I mean, this is how he talks about people now. And he said, I can't disrespect anyone more than I disrespect J.D. Vance. And then he goes on to say about J.D., he said, it's like, really, you sell yourself so cheaply? Ha! And then he said, right behind J.D. Vance, who is the most disrespected Republican senator he ever met, is Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley. Cruz, Texas, Josh Hawley, from Missouri. He said the idea that they were furthering the 2020 election fraud claims that the election was stolen, he said, quote, they know better. Josh Hawley is one of the smartest people in the Senate, if not the smartest, which is sad, and Ted Cruz could give him a run for his money. But they made a calculation that put politics above the interests of democracy and the Constitution. And then speaking of the Constitution, he says that very few of his colleagues, his Republican colleagues, even care or believe that the Constitution is important. Really. They think it's just, something to, put in your pocket and hold up in front of people to demonstrate patriotism, but that they really don't believe in any of the constitutional principles that are laid out. They really believe in oligarchy. They really believe in authoritarianism. They really believe in, the golden rule, meaning he who has the gold makes the rules. You've heard that, right? Yeah, that's who they are, he said. He said, Mike Pence, this is beautiful, coming from two very uber religious dudes, okay? Mike Pence, he said, no one has been more loyal, more willing to smile when he saw absurdities, more willing to ascribe God's will to things that were ungodly than Mike Pence. Ooh. Ow, he's calling him a not lukewarm, which would be really gross. He's calling him a phony. He's calling him a fake, a fraud. He's calling him a fake Christian, just a guy who finds it useful to spout, because he literally smiles at ungodly activity, ungodly, things like punch him in the face, like that, right? And then he talks about Ron Johnson, and he says, is there any conspiracy he doesn't believe? It's very sick.
To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Friday! Fall. Free speech TV pledge drive. Friday, fall, free speech TV pledge drive. What does that mean to you? I'll tell you what it means to me. It means to me there's a deadline that one of our frontline funders on a Friday has set a deadline for me for Friday. And the challenge that I had was, could I find and could I encourage 500 uniquely new donors to pledge something to support independent media a la Free Speech TV? So I think I have about 100 more I have to find. I know we've done 400 people. So I think, it's somewhere between 100 or 70 now. I don't know. So if you've never, ever donated the $5 or the $10 or whatever it is you feel comfortable doing, 20, 25, 50, know that today is a special challenge for you to choose today. Why? Because if I can get to the number 500 new donors, then one of our frontline funders will donate $10,000 celebrating me No, celebrating us because we were able to meet their challenge. So that's what is on the table today, the $10,000 to get us to the total that we need to be at, which is usually $250,000 in 2 weeks. That's what we have to raise, okay? So if you would like to support the people who work really, really hard in Denver, Colorado, just call 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669. And you could talk to one of those fabulous people over there in Denver and tell them that you support their work with a couple of bucks. Freespeech.org will also get you to a donate page. And if you like using your phone, and who doesn't, text FSTV to 44321, and we will send you a secure link. Thank you very much. All right, Louis in California.
Hey, Randy, how are you?
Good.
You're doing good. Well, I've been a little frustrated lately with politics. I mean, I want to hear your opinion on this. Do you think Donald Trump could actually get reelected and installed in the presidency?
It's America. Who the hell knows, Stranger things.
I know, but it's scary.
It's very scary. It's horrific. It would be a disaster for democracy.
Yeah.
For democracy. I mean, that would be the end of it, right? I mean, if Donald Trump won this last election, it would likely be the very last election we ever have.
He's talked about upending the Constitution. He's talked about suspending it. He's talked about all these whatever just keeps them all in power.
And
I think that's what all these Republicans' wet dreams are, just to not have to run for office ever again, just be in power forever after Donald Trump is their president.
Right, and that they would legislate against companies not based on whether or not the company was based in their district anymore, but based on whether or not the company kicked back to them, a la oligarchs, right? And any oligarch that didn't play the game with them would, have legislation that singled them out or would have, something retaliatory happen to them. That's kind of how Russia works, and we would start looking like that. And if there are some people.
I mean, if I may say on your air, Russia sucks. I mean, you don't want to be living in Russia. Everybody who lives there actually hates it, I think. My family's from Russia, actually from Odessa. My grandfather was born in Odessa.
Me too. Odessa.
Yeah.
So we're Ukrainian. But honestly, Russia, I've been to Russia and recently, well, not recently, I mean, I should say like 5 years ago I went there. And let me tell you something. There's the very rich and everybody else. And that's the way it is. And people are miserable. They are drunk by 10 o'clock in the morning. This idea that, there's on my Instagram page an older photo of me in Russia sitting at a table. And the only good thing I could think about, telling you about Russia was that you get 3 kinds of vodka at lunch. 3 kinds of vodka at lunch.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And then you get this.
Well, are they at least good vodkas? Did you enjoy them?
I mean, one was like cinnamon flavor. Oh, please. It was ridiculous.
Oh, God.
But you know what lunch is?
Living on vodka because there's no other hope.
Yeah, they're all drunk. Don't you remember when they started recruiting for this Ukrainian war effort? And the guys were so drunk on the bus going to the front lines, they would stop, right? And every one of them would get out in the field. They would be stumbling, bumbling, drunk. I mean,
Oh, man, I didn't even see this. How did I miss this? So is it on YouTube or something?
Yeah, yeah. It was.
Yeah, because, I mean, I'd love to see that. I mean, because it makes sense. I mean, they're like, I don't want to go to this stupid war.
No, they didn't want to go.
Pass the bottle over this way.
Which is why Prigozhin was so successful with his Wagner mercenaries, which he was, recruiting from jails, from freaking prisons, okay? Because most of the Russian, boys and their mothers didn't want them going to this stupid war, right? And they were so drunk. They were so drunk. But you know what you get for lunch in Russia? This was like a fancy, tourist trip too, right? Because you're not allowed, like when you're an American, you're not allowed on your own in Russia. Okay, you can't just walk around. You can't just.
Well, wait a minute. Does somebody actually follow you around? I mean, what's happening with that?
Yeah, no. Here's how it goes. If you aren't part of a tour group, right? If you're not part of a guided group, then you don't get a visa. Okay, you're not even allowed to, set foot in Russia. You have to be part of a group so you could be minded. You could be watched. Okay, so that's part of it. But you know what you get for lunch? You get on a piece of pumpernickel. You ever wonder where our love for pumpernickel comes from? It comes from this Russian background of ours.
I guess.
Yeah, it is. It's the brown bread thing. Okay, and so on top of this slice of pumpernickel is this disgusting piece of. It's called filka. Okay, it's like a little larger than an anchovy. Okay, it's this icky, disgusting.
What is like a little sliver of fish?
Yes. Yes, that's
gross.
Oh, it's so disgusting.
Gross. Totally gross.
That's lunch, baby. That's what you
That's
get.
Filka?
Yeah.
Filka on Pumpernickel.
Filka, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's bad.
Well,
it's really.
I hope you didn't spend a whole lot of money on this tour that you went on.
I mean, it's not really that expensive. I will tell you though that there were girls there that we were walking down the street in this group, and you have to be part of this group. And so the native, the people that live there, they know exactly who you are. They know that you're interlopers, you're American. They could tell by your clothes, and they love our freaking clothes. Okay, they love everything about us. They love everything about us.
Yeah.
They love our music. They love our jeans. They love our
We're
shirts.
still hip. Somehow we've retained being hip through all this.
But they hate us. They hate us. Okay.
Yeah, we're hip, but they hate us.
Yeah, they hate us. So this girl, this really, I mean, they're gorgeous. They're absolutely beautiful. But this girl comes barreling down the street in her fake jeans. Like they look like something out of a Saturday Night Live sketch. Like fake jeans. And she literally plowed into me on purpose because she loved my jeans. She loved them, and she couldn't have them. And she was just so nasty and screaming and at the top of her lungs. And, like if you get away from the group, which I managed to do, which is really bad because, when you hear about, I don't know, Brittany Griner, and you say, well, why was she there in the first place? And blah, blah. That could have been me because I got on the subway, okay, and I went into the neighborhood outside of the tourist area in St. Petersburg. It's disgusting. It's apartment blocks, like Stalin apartments, and graffiti and garbage everywhere.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show.
It is.
To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844.
Yeah.
That's 561-270-3844.
Yeah, go ahead and dial that. It's Friday. We'll talk to you. All right, I just want to show you. I want to play you something. You want to know what CEOs sound like when nobody, is none of the workers are around? Do you want to know how, like, the elite of the world actually view your efforts to go to work and create something and, make it a really good product for their benefit. And, hopefully you'll get a piece of the action, too, in the end after they, take in enough revenue to pay all their bills. And then after that, the profit you would get a portion of. Yeah. Let me show you what CEOs sound like. This guy here, he's a rich developer. Okay. This is what he is. His name's Tim Gurner. And he's very upset right now. He's very frustrated because what we have here in America, because of all the investment that went on in America, like the Inflation Reduction Act and the American Rescue Plan and the Chips and Science Act and the Inflation Reduction Act, which did reduce inflation from 9%, to like 3%. So anyway, they're frustrated because a tight labor market means you get to choose where you'd like to work. You don't have to take just any damn thing, right? And if you are able to choose something you really love and you're really good at it, maybe you get to, ask for more wages because you're so good at what you do. He is so resentful of that scenario as an employer that he actually wants to create chaos, screw up the market, on purpose by getting his fellow CEOs to say this kind of crap, to say, they can't afford you anymore, and whip you back into shape where you're happy to be a wage slave for them and realize where the pecking order in life actually is for you. Listen to this.
We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40, 50%, in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy.
Hurting the economy. We have to get together as CEOs, as titans of the world, as the elite, as the swamp, and we have to create chaos. Because in chaos, we can steal.
How disconnected do you have to be from the average American to actually say something like that?
Well, he's not American; he's Australian,
Right,
but he's
citizen,
speaking.
right.
He's speaking to the elite of the world, who, they're borderless. Nobody cares Rupert Murdoch as an Australian. Nobody cares this guy as an Australian. Okay, these people are ruthless. They're murderous, and they actually are resentful that they even have to pay you at all. These are the people that actually will tell you things like slavery was beneficial to the slave because it created a skill set. Okay, this is the mindset of the elite. This is the mindset of the corporate. This is the mindset of the CEO today. And like I said, they're borderless. It doesn't matter. You hear an accent, you go, oh, well, that doesn't represent, the CEOs of GM. Do you know that Stellantis, which is responsible for Chrysler and Jeep products, Stellantis, it sounds like a pill. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I mean, I don't know. Or nothing is everything. Stellantis. Oh, I had Stellantis all over me. And then I, took the little pill with the big story to tell. And now nothing is everything. I'm clear. Clear for 5 years. I love Cyndi Lauper, but enough already, okay, with that commercial. But yeah, Stellantis is a Dutch company. Stellantis is based in Amsterdam. Great place. Not American. And nobody cares, okay? Nobody cares. American workers want to make Jeeps. They want to make Chryslers for $25, $30 an hour plus benefits. They work at Stellantis. That's what I'm saying to you. It doesn't, it's like so ridiculous anymore. But anyway, so they played that clip. Chris Hayes last night played that clip for Bernie Sanders. And he was like beside himself with disgust for that.
We need to remind people they work for the employer, not the other way around. What do you think of that?
I think it's disgusting. It is. And it's, hard to believe that you have that kind of mentality among the ruling class in the year 2023. This is the richest country in the history of the world, and yet we still have 60% of our people living paycheck to paycheck. People can't afford housing. People can't afford health care. They can't afford child care. They can't afford to send their kids to college. And what these guys are saying, hey, this is all great. Working class is in disarray. Let's have more unemployment. We can get richer and richer, make them more and more desperate. That is the kind of greed and arrogance that the UAW and unions all over this country are standing up to. I applaud them, and I would hope that all of us as Americans stand with the UAW in their struggle.
Right, because it is soul-crushing. When you listen to them, when you listen to this handful of billionaires, multi-international, They are literally plotting and planning every single minute of every single day how not to pay you anything, how not to, to just make you grateful that you have anything at all, like a roof over your head, like shelter, anything at all in the way of health care, anything at all, like, a community, line to sit, a waiting room to sit and wait, and maybe somebody will see you someday soon. They don't care about your oozy pussy gravy store. Okay, they don't want to hear about it. They just want you to be grateful and that you get anything. Please, sir, may I have some more? Is where they're at. It is disgusting, and it's so anti-American. Okay, this is not what America is. It's not. America is a place where we believe that the reason we strive and that the reason we rise and that the reason we raise kids here and the reason we want to continue the American, promise is because there is, at the end of the rainbow, an American dream to be had. They don't want you to think that there's anything to be had. That's how the elite of this world think. And Donald Trump is one of them, okay? Mitt Romney is too. These are people that would buy any company that was for sale, that they saw assets that they could, take cash out of and leave that company in debt to, die. They're vulture capitalists, all of them. Donald Trump has never built anything except a cult movement of hatred and grievance. That's what his entire thing is to make you, make you angry. Make you angry. And that there explains why this here is a thing. And what am I talking about now? All right. So there was a poll. I was listening to the last little bit of Thom Hartmann today because I knew Tom would see this too. And it's really, really, it's earth-shattering. It's shocking. It's jolting. This was a report today about a poll that was done. And the poll is so frightening because it shows that Americans, in spite of the facts on the ground that say that the American economy, of all the economies, the G7, the largest economies in the world, that the American economy is doing the best. After COVID, after the pandemic, after the crushing supply chain, fiasco, even after the corporate greed somewhat abated. Now, there's still, a lot going on at the pump. That's all corporate greed. There's no doubt about it. There is no reason in the world that gas should cost us, $4 and change, or almost $5 or $7 or $8 at some point. People paid. There's just no reason for it. But the United States has roared back, okay? Because of the policies that the Democrats and Biden were able to get through, in spite of having a mixed Congress, okay, in spite of not having the majority in the House, we were able to pass so much legislation that actually made people optimistic a little bit, gave people opportunities, put money in their pockets, like we talked about this yesterday and the day before, the child tax credit. Was paying people $300 per child under 17. Sometimes, if your kid was, under 12, you got $360, I think, a month per child. So a family that had 2 kids, they were getting an extra $700 a month, right? That was setting them free to do things, to go on vacations, to pay their bills, to, put food on the table, to end hunger and, food insecurity for a lot of families, millions and millions of families. The other thing that really helped was the enhanced unemployment benefit. Remember that? And the Republicans wailed and screamed about how you'll never go back to work because in a lockdown, okay, in a scenario where there was, a deathly virus at the door, they didn't think that you should get any help to stay home, right? Whatever. They were sick. They were twisted. They were Republicans. They were this guy here, right? And when those pandemic enhancements to the middle class ended, the Republicans refused to renew any of them, even though we had learned that guaranteed income coming into houses, not only could we afford it, but it was productive for us. It was creating growth in spite of a pandemic lockdown. It was creating GDP. It was creating an environment where the U.S. could come out of the pandemic and roar back to normalcy. It was also helping with supply chain issues and other things, right? They did a poll today, and because Americans are so distrustful of their government, they refuse to believe that America roared back after the pandemic. They think things suck.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Everything working people have ever won, we've won together. Today, America's auto workers are in the fight of our lives. The fight for a decent standard of living. The fight for wages that grow with inflation. The fight to retire with dignity. The fight to protect our communities against plant closures. The fight for better work-life balance so we can see our children grow up and our parents grow old. Winning these demands will take all of us fighting together. It will take a return to our roots. Collective action gave birth to our great union. After years of facing down company thugs, spies, and anti-union laws that favored big business, the auto workers in Flint, Michigan took decisive action. In 1937, they occupied General Motors plants and set off an organizing firestorm in our country. After a few tense months, GM Auto Workers emerged victorious. They had won their union and a contract. The creativity, discipline, and defiant spirit of auto workers was contagious. The sit-down strike sparked a strike wave that quickly spread across the entire working class, everywhere from auto plants to department stores. Nearly 400,000 workers across the U.S. participated in sit-down strikes in 1937, giving birth to a new industrial labor movement. We are once again returning to our roots and reclaiming our tradition of holding the line for working people against unchecked corporate power. That is why we are launching a new kind of strike against Ford, GM, and Stellantis. This is our generation's answer to the sit-down strike of the 1930s. We're calling it the stand-up strike. This is a strike that starts small and builds over time as more and more of us stand up and join the fight. This is a strike that keeps the companies guessing as to where and when the next local will walk out. And just as importantly, we are striking the big three, all three. We told them September 14th is a deadline, and we meant it. The big three have made $250 billion over the last 10 years. They made $21 billion in profits in the first half of this year alone. We will not stand by as corporate executives in the rich continue to make extraordinary profits while the rest of us continue to get left further and further behind. And I want to be clear, our goal is not to strike. Our goal is to bargain a fair contract. But if we have to strike to win economic and social justice, then we will shut down the big three.
Stand Up Friday. You gotta love it, and I love the strategy here. They're striking all big three at the same time, but randomly choosing, locations for people to stand up and stand outside of work, right? And so today there's a factory. Each of the three locations that are standing outside of the workplace today, each of the three represents one of the big three's factories. So you have a GM factory that's being struck today. You have a Stellantis factory, and you have a Ford factory, right? And so all three of the big three, but one from each of the big three. So one is in Missouri, one is in Michigan, and one is in Ohio. And nobody from the corporate world, nobody knows tomorrow or the day after that, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which will be the factory that is called to strike. The union guys know, Sean Fain, who is the president of the UAW, he knows what his strategy will look like. He knows which ones are next. And it will progressively get more and more and more people striking at more and more of the big three plants in more and more states as time wears on. Now, the strikers, for their effort, they will get from the UAW a very small pittance to survive on, okay? So that's why it takes a lot of discipline, and it takes a lot of pre-planning before union guys and girls can go out on strike. They have to get financially situated so that they feel that they can get by on a measly $500 a week. That is what the union provides for striking workers, $500 a week, in order to at least keep food happening, right? So it's an enormous sacrifice that union people make. But the idea that you could have brothers, the idea that you could be part of a collective, the idea that you could bargain that way for fair wages in the face of $21 trillion in profit, CEOs that are making $29 million a year, $21 million a year, $25 million a year, and you're working for $17 an hour because you came in after 2008 when the union gave back parts of their pension funds, gave back parts of their salaries, gave back parts of their benefits in order that they could support the company. so that they could make sure their company continued to be a company. And even though, like Chrysler, they sold, Jeep sold to a company in Amsterdam, to a Dutch company. Do you know what I'm saying? They still supported it. So now you have these two tiers of workers. You have people who have been there, forever, who actually entered into these agreements in 2008, never to have any of the things they gave away restored. And then you have the new workers who came in after 2008 who were signed on for like $17 an hour, where, it should be like 30. It should be 28 or something like that. Okay, and so they're the second tier. It is so ridiculously ugly and gross what these companies are getting away with after these workers demonstrated over this 15-year period that they would sacrifice for the benefit of the company. Well, now the company is financially flush. All of them. The big three are financially flush. They are doing better than they could have ever dreamed when they took $182 billion in our taxpayer money as bailouts to bail out the auto industry, and sacrifices from the workers on the other side of it. And now it's time for them to pay. It's been at least 10 years that they have enjoyed these profits that are astronomical numbers. I mean, ridiculous numbers. And instead of, once they got financially flush, instead of saying thank you to the workers who make the product that they are financially flush off of, they actually said, you know what, we're going to do stock buybacks. We're going to buy back our own stock to prop up the price per share, okay, so that the CEOs could get their bonuses on top of their giant fat salaries. And people still remained patient. Why? Because Donald Trump told them that he's got their back. And everybody waited for him to wave his magic wand for manufacturing. Everybody waited. It never happened. So everybody went through COVID. Subsequent, okay? And subsequently, everybody figured out, oh my God, they're going to call us into work in the middle of a pandemic. And we're going to show up. And a lot of us are going to die. And they still won't honor any of the bargains we struck with them 15 years ago. Oh my God, we've had enough. We came back after COVID. Like I said, we roared back. But half this country doesn't believe that that's true because they are so misinformed, whatever you want to call it, propagandized, that they literally do not believe the numbers anymore. They don't believe the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They don't believe anything, nothing. But we roared back, and these workers are now ready.
Go for launch. Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
It strikes me that part of the issue here is that you've got tight labor markets.
Yeah.
And employees have more choice now than they did during that long period after the Great Recession where you had a lot of slack in the labor market, 6, 7, 8% unemployment. People were worried they were replaceable. It seems to me this environment has given workers more say and more power in their negotiations with ownership.
I think there is truth to that, Chris, but I think it really goes deeper. I think COVID, the pandemic, was a real emotional wake-up for the American people. You know, the rich people, the CEOs, could stay at home and work in their fancy offices or in their homes behind their computers. Working people at the UAW, bus drivers, people working in warehouses, nurses, doctors, they had to go out to work. And tens of thousands of them died. And meanwhile, during that whole pandemic, we saw an explosion of wealth increases for the people on top. So yeah, the tight labor market is a factor, Chris. But I really think that people are becoming sick and tired of the massive levels of income and wealth inequality that they're seeing today. No one thinks that 3 people on top should own more wealth than the bottom half of American society, that CEOs are making 400 times more than their workers. That's not what this country is supposed to be about. That's what the UAW is telling the American people, and I think there's massive support for what they're trying to do.
I do too. I think everyone who works, which is most of us, understands that collective bargaining is a great thing, and that if you could, if the people who make the rules fear the people are coming more than any other thing, which is true. It is what congressmen and women are afraid of the most, that people are going to show up in droves. This is why they gerrymander. This is why they try to suppress the vote. This is why they don't want you to know what the right date to vote is. You know, the old trope about how you vote on Wednesday, or they pass out cards, in a neighborhood and they say, don't forget to vote on Thursday, right? They do it all the time because they're afraid of the people. The people don't agree that multi-trillion-dollar profitable cash flush corporations who worked us to the bone through COVID. I came to work through COVID, okay, but I'm protected by a glass wall, and thank God Brett was able to be protected by the same glass on the other side of the glass. We had an arrangement where, okay, not everybody could go to a studio and protect themselves with a glass wall. Some people had to go to meatpacking plants, and they got a plastic wall, right? They put up a plastic wall between the two workers, and they told them, speed it up, speed it up. Some people had to go to work in airplanes, right? Flight attendants had to go to work in aircraft, and nobody knew if the air was cleaned or the HEPA filters were working or if it was going to. They had to show up and they had to work. The UPS drivers, they had to get in their non-air conditioned vehicles, okay, and deliver the packages, or GDP would have gone through the freaking floor, okay? School teachers, they had to go to work and they had to disinfect their students, desks and all the books. Well, there are no books anymore. There, saved you some effort. Yeah, and all of these people, all of these professionals that I'm describing, they all went out on strike. Every one of them went out on strike because COVID was traumatizing, and it was also clarifying. It was instead of a cleansing moment of clarity, it was a disinfected moment of clarity, that they would sacrifice you at the altar of a pandemic, at the altar of a virus. They didn't care. You were so disposable. You were so dispensable. And people have had it. And America, I really believe America is, been traumatized. I do. I think that we have an inordinate amount of trauma in our society still about our politics, about the polarization, about what we saw, about what they put us through, about the disconnected nature of the companies that we all said, we're company Joes, we work for the company takes, that's all gone out the window, okay? Nobody has that spirit about, I'm only as good as the company is, because the company doesn't pay you back. The company doesn't reward you. They don't take you along for the glorious ride into the profitable future anymore. It's all about creating chaos in a marketplace. It's all about creating large, big unemployment numbers so that you will be terrified. Big layoffs, right? News about big layoffs all the time so that you will not feel secure. You will not feel safe. You will always feel traumatized, threatened, always. That is what the elite want for you. And quite frankly, I think through COVID, people actually experienced it, and they saw it, and they understood that, there was absolutely no place, no safe place for anybody who couldn't stay home, and that you couldn't, if you wanted to, feed your family, if you wanted to, survive COVID financially, you had to show up, you had to work, you had to risk your life. I mean, literally risk your life. And there was no reward on the back end, even though, like I said, this economy has boomed back to health. And, when I say that, I don't want to discount what Bernie is trying to tell us, what Bernie is trying to not just tell us, but to highlight. And what Bernie's trying to highlight when Bernie says what he's saying about people being, left behind, and people, not feeling protected and not feeling secure, even though they're working an inordinate amount of hours, okay? It's because there's no wage that's being offered that's commensurate with the sacrifice. So we built a country where 60% of the population of this country, even to this minute, works paycheck to paycheck. And so if that's the situation where everybody's working paycheck to paycheck, or a majority of people, and it is a majority of people in this country are working paycheck to paycheck, then when you start to tell them that unemployment is historically low, that we have had, I don't know what it is, 18, 19 quarters, one after the other of unemployment below 4%, which is a good thing, they just don't, either they don't care or they don't believe it, because they're still working paycheck to paycheck. When you show them that the economy is growing, right, that GDP is on the plus side, that the economy is growing, only by 2%, sometimes 3% almost, but that's it, 2 to 3. People still don't believe that that's even true. They think that we're shrinking. They think the economy is getting worse. Why do they think that? Because things are more expensive and their wages haven't increased. So who is making things more expensive? The corporate elite. Why are they gouging us? Why are they doing it? Part of it's greed, yes. The other part is so that you don't feel comfortable. Because just like that Australian dude said right there, we can't have people feeling comfortable. We can't have people feeling secure. They have to be brought down many, many pegs to the point where they're grateful. They're grateful that they get paid anything at all for an enormous amount of work, that there is a paycheck for that at all is what we need to return to. And that is why there's so much gouging. That is what's depressing, people's view of our economy. And until we accept that, that's the way it'll be.
Clear for takeoff. Roll in. Connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Okay, I'm going to make this really brief, really fast. It is not $5 Friday. It is a new donor Friday. Okay, this is it. This is the end of the challenge. Today we had a donor challenge to produce 500 new givers, new giving gods and goddesses out there in the free speech TV audience. And if we could get 500 new donors, they would then contribute $10,000 to the total that we need to reach in order to conclude the fall pledge drive for free speech TV. So I don't know how many. I knew coming in to the day that it was about 100. So I'm guessing we'll get there, but listen, I don't know. So I'll tell you on Monday if we did or we didn't. But 877-378-8669, that is the phone number to talk to somebody in Denver. They could probably tell you. Or you could go to freespeech.org/donate and make a donation that way. Or, of course, use your phone and text FSTV to 44321. FSTV to 44321. Thank you very much. I feel very confident. We've been, trying to keep Free Speech TV on the air for 25 years, and so far so good because of people like you. So thank you. Thank you very much. Mark in Oregon.
Hi, Randi. Love your show.
Thank you.
Hey, I just got a real quick question. Back in the 80s, the Crude Coalition basically had a conference, and they had a vote to determine what direction they wanted to go when they wanted to support a presidential, somebody that was running for president. They determined at that point that they wanted to make the United States a Christian nation.
A what?
Hence the term dominionism.
Wait,
what?
You
used to talk about it on your show.
Wait. You're breaking up. The what coalition did what?
Christian Coalition.
Christian Coalition. Okay.
Okay.
And what did they do?
They had a conference.
Okay.
Okay. I believe you used to talk about it on your show back when George Bush was in office. And my purpose is that
you're breaking up is why I'm asking you what you're saying. It's because your phone is bad.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's why.
I'm in a basement at work, so forgive me.
Yeah, it's really, you're breaking up like on key words, so I don't know what you're saying. But I think what you're talking about is dominionism.
Yes, ma'am.
And what about it?
Well, the Republican Party would not have gotten this far without using churches and promoting the idea of dominionism.
Well, I don't
My
think they called
contention-
it that. I mean, we called it that, and they
We called it that.
Yeah, we called it that, and we understood what their goal was, But and
Right.
we're there now because what you have is a bunch of Opus Dei Catholics on the Supreme Court, on the take, no less. Okay, who
On
have
the
been
take.
on the take, who have been they're unethical people. They're morally bankrupt human beings who lied during their confirmation hearings to get confirmed. And so what you have there are a bunch of very irreligious posing as see, this is what Mitt Romney described Mike Pence as, being somebody who saw the most absurd and ungodly things and sanctioned them under God, right? Said they had to happen this way because God's talking to them. This is such bullcrap. It is so disgusting, and it's all in service of the elite. Okay, and it always has been. It has nothing to do with ordinary people that are looking for something bigger than themselves to believe in, which is, how most people get through the day. Right, is they think of something bigger that they either want to achieve or something bigger that they want to be a part of, like a union or like another life is going to be there for them, and if they do the right thing when no one's looking, then they will have a better chance of it on the other side, right? I don't blame people for having those thoughts or having that belief, but to be used by these irreligious, unbelievably elite stokers of hostility, grievance, and hatred, and being cloaked in some sort of religious thing, that is what's appalling. That's what's galling.
I agree with you 100%. And this is the goal of the Christian Coalition. This is the goal of the Republican Party, and it's to rewrite the Constitution. They've been pushing for it since the 80s. They've been pushing for it in every single one of their
But again,
through.
what I'm saying is that even though they call themselves the Christian Coalition, there was never anything Christian about what they were trying to do. There was never anything, godly about what they were actually for. Okay, and that's why they can't really tell you what they're for. Because if they told you what they were for, then you would understand that it was for crushing you. And if you look at and if you look at what they did do, I mean, how in the world do union people vote Republican? And yet they did, believing that Donald Trump was going to save Lordstown when their savior, their God, their first pick was Ronald Reagan, who literally fired all of the air traffic controllers and replaced them with scabs. Broke up PATCO, which was an air traffic control union. I mean, it's so obvious what they've been trying to do. But it seems to me that
my union in San Diego was taken over by the Proud Boys. and why are you laughing?
What union got taken over by the Proud Boys?
It's a local union, Local 230 in San Diego.
And what kind of workers is it?
Steam fitters, plumbers, pipe fitters.
Okay.
You see a lot of commercials on TV now about the UA.
Okay, and so
how the UA supports Biden.
About how who?
How the UA, United Association, supports Joe Biden.
Is that your union?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because
it's a local.
I will tell you. I will tell you this:
UA.
the Proud Boys took over the Republican Party in Miami, so I don't doubt you. I'm trying to, stay with you. But you're breaking up so bad, it's kind of difficult. But all right, so what is the point of all of this conversation?
My point is that there has to be a vehicle to get to where we are today, and that vehicle was basically how churches push through their agenda to get here, to get to where we are, to get to this state of crystal fascism. It's not just fascism that we're talking about. We're talking about a religious element of fascism. The same thing that the Nazis did, and I think they're using the same playbook.
Well, it's interesting because the Catholic Church literally had no problem with Nazism for a very, very long time. And here you have a bunch of Opus Dei Catholics on the Supreme Court who obviously don't have a problem with fascism either. But one of the tactics, besides for the uber religiosity, right, one of the tactics that they're using too, and don't don't forget to look at this, don't forget to notice it, is crushing the unions, crushing workers. And the idea that we have a tight labor market, meaning you can choose and pick where you want to work now, the idea that we came through COVID with an understanding that we will be asked to die for corporate, and a lot of us will show up and do it, but they will never reward us. That is the part of the bargain that needs to be fixed.
I agree with you.
Right. And so when you hear these elite people sit there and say, well, this isn't working for us, we don't want to pay taxes, and we don't want to see people think that we as employers should be grateful for their work. We want them beholden to us. So we have to create chaos in the marketplace again so we can steal some more from them. Gouge some more. That's what the gouging is, though.
Clear for takeoff. This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
I'm the only president who hands out the opposition's economic plan. Oh, you think I'm kidding? Protecting American economic security, fiscal year 2024, the budget, the study committee of Kevin Hearn, budget, and it goes on. This is the mega budget. Huh. I want you to take a look at it. I think we have other copies of it. If we don't, we'll get you some.
Oh, great.
So since I've come to office, all they've really done is attack me and my economic plan. There hadn't been much else. Even though we've created, as has pointed out, over 13 million jobs, more jobs in 2 years than any president's created in a 4-year term. Even though, I'm not looking... Even though we've had 19 straight months of unemployment under 4% for the first time in American history. Even though we have the lowest inflation rate of any major economy in the world, with core inflation rate the last 3 months at 2.4%. We got more to do, even though we've created 800,000 manufacturing jobs and a manufacturing boom we haven't seen in decades. Even though America, as we met here today, has the strongest economy in the world. Let me say that again. America has the strongest economy in the world of all major economics. And all they do is attack it. But, you've noticed something. For all the time they spend attacking me and my plans, here's what they never do. They never talk about what they want to do. No, think about it. They tell you what they're against. What are they for? It's like they want to keep it a secret. I don't blame them.
Yeah, because their agenda is not pro-you, okay? It isn't. It's not pro-worker. It's not pro-family. It's not pro-woman. It's not pro-man. It's not pro-anything. It's pro-themselves, okay? It's about power, and it's about them retaining power, holding on to power. And if they have to cheat to do that, so be it. That's what they will do. What's really fascinating about the Republican Party is they don't have a platform. They don't have a platform because the platform is whatever Donald Trump wants it to be on any given day. And if Donald Trump wants to watch Lordstown shut down and people get fired and people get laid off and, a plant that's been there since the 60s just, not exist anymore, well, then that's what the platform's going to be for. And they can't tell you that they're going to be for massive amounts of unemployment. They certainly can't tell you that they're for this price gouging that's going on. We know that that's true on many, many different occasions. We've seen their hand on the levers of the power to take down the cost of gouging by passing a windfall profits tax, okay? The windfall profits tax disincentivizes the gouging. So that if your profits last year or the year before the pandemic were X, and then this year they're twice X, 2 times X, or 3 times X, that's a windfall, okay? That shouldn't be happening. And if that's the case, we know that you're gouging people for your product, that the price of your product isn't commensurate with what it costs for you to make a profit off of making that product, that there's excess profits being taken at the expense of ordinary shoppers, and that there's probably collusion going on between the companies that make this thing, whether it's a car or plastic bags or whatever it is, to keep the price high. Gas, OPEC, okay? That's a group of people that set the price for a barrel of oil. So, we've tried to disincentivize the gouging. We've tried to disincentivize the windfall profits that they're taking, but they won't stop, right? And the Republicans won't vote for a windfall profits tax. Why? Because the gouging is serving the greater purpose, and the gouging is keeping Republicans with a glimmer of hope that they can win another election, because Americans are paying more for things and their wages aren't going up. Only one side of that equation is something that Congress could do anything about. Congress can't price fix. They can't set the price of a barrel of oil. They have nothing to do with the price of a barrel of oil. But what they can do is, level an excise profits tax, right? Or a windfall profits tax. But they won't do it because the idea that this economy is good isn't something people can feel if they're being gouged. It's not something they can feel if they're being charged $9 for a dozen eggs. It's not something they can feel if they're paying over $4 a gallon of gas at the pump. You see, and Congress can only do something about one side of that, okay? They can raise the federal minimum wage. They could put money in your pocket. They could pass or re-up the child tax credit. They could do something on the food stamp benefit, right, where they were able to do it during COVID. During COVID, people got food stamps that were worth about $300 a month, right? And we didn't go broke. In fact, the economy is doing great. They could do that again instead of, saying, no, we're not going to, give people food security. We're going to lower the food stamp benefit to $60. And then people think the economy sucks, even though the economy is good. It's really good. This is the only chance they have to play the grievance card some more. It's the only way they can get in your head about the economy's not good. The economy's bad. Economy's not, inflation is out of control. No, it's price gouging. And it's being done by corporations, and Republicans are looking the other way because those are their masters. Those are their donors. And so when you hear the titans of the corporate world say things like,
we need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40, 50% in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy.
Hurting the economy. And hurting the economy is raising prices. That's what hurting the economy looks like right now, okay? So here is the result of this poll that I think just shocked and jolted all of us today. 2/3 of the respondents in this poll who were asked about the economy, how did they feel about the economy, 68% reported it's difficult to be happy about the positive economic news when they feel financially squeezed every month. Therein lies the dilemma, okay? That right there, there's more information here. 2/3 of America believe that the economy is worse and that the media is lying to them and saying that it's better than it is. They think that the government is not reliable and that the stats are being manipulated to paint a sunnier picture of the economy than the economy actually is. Unemployment rate in this country is 3.8%. That is a 50-year low. But the poll found wrongly that 51% wrongly believe that unemployment is nearing a 50-year high rather than a 50-year low. I mean, that is what was shocking, is that, real numbers show you the unemployment rate is at a 50-year low, and people think that it's at a 50-year high because they're being misinformed and disinformed. I understand the feeling of not being able to be joyful about a good economy because things are costing you so much, but I just need you to understand who's doing that. Who's doing it? And as long as people are somehow believing wrongly that the government can set prices, people are going to blame the price of things on Joe Biden. And Joe Biden doesn't have anything to do with the price of things. Joe Biden can help you pay for things, and Joe Biden wants to help you pay for things. He wants to restore the child tax credit.
It's time billionaires began to pay at least a minimum tax of 25%, for God's sake.
Right.
There'll still be multi-billionaires at that. We ought to make the tax code more fair, not less fair. That's why I promised that no one making under $400,000, I've never seen that, but no one making under $400,000 will see their federal taxes go up a single penny. Like, I've kept that promise, and I will keep it. That's why I expect the child care tax credit, helping millions of middle-class families. It's a great benefit to those families. It increases economic, and by the way, it increases economic growth. All the things we do for middle-class and working-class families increases economic productivity. When you have a child care tax credit, you're a middle or lower middle-class income person, guess what? It means you can get help for your kid and you can go to work at the same time. And now MAGA Republicans in Congress did not support continuing that extended tax cut.
Right.
And this week we learned what happened as a result of their position. About 3 million more kids are now living in poverty because we cut that again. I'm fighting to restore the child tax credit and once again lift these kids out of poverty.
5.28 million kids were returned to the poverty rolls because the child tax credit expired. But it's also the food stamp benefit. It's also the Medicaid expansion. People are getting thrown off of Medicaid now that COVID is over, and the states that wouldn't expand it are going back to their bad old ways. Biden is for you.